This morning was another early rise morning for me, and I thought I would take you on a walk through our gardens. I set my alarm for 5 o'clock this morning. I do my morning routine, which I recently shared in my early rise morning routine video, and then I do my rounds in the garden to check on everything. And so I thought I would share with you what we have now and what's to come in the next few months. But first, I gotta get some coffee, feed the animals, and it's still kind of coming out of the dark and the sun is rising, and it'll be really beautiful in the garden after I do a little bit of my morning routine, and then I can take you guys through the gardens and show you what we're growing right now. I'm going to take you first to the rose garden, which is ever expanding because we started with a small patch of roses right in front of our gate, and then we recently planted these. You can go back a few videos ago where I showed the process of us planting this, and I did mention in that video that we like to start with small patches, see how that works, and then we usually grow more of whatever is successful. So this area of the front yard is where my son likes to play in the dirt with his tractors. This is our original rose bush, the first one we ever planted in front of our gate when you first enter our property. And we have this beautiful vintage pink called Amnesia rose. And then we were given as a gift the deeper pink color, but we plant mostly white with a few color pops here and there. So we're continuing this part of the landscape, and it's gonna be like a path, if you will, that almost kind of looks like a river. We're calling it the River of Roses, but we have mostly white and then a few colors here and there. Now, here you'll see we're moving the rocks out of the way to continue our lavender, to have lavender all along the pathway going up to our front door. We started first with a very small patch of lavender, and now we've grown the patch even larger, and we're going to continue to grow it larger and larger until eventually it will follow the path leading up to our entry doorway. And this is our French lavender. So I recently harvested most of the lavender, so it's just green right now with a few little buds here and there. In some of my more recent videos, I've been sharing how I use the lavender for around the house, for skincare, for bouquets, for teas. And then we also have a very large rosemary bush in front of our house, which looks just like a hedge bush, but it's really a lot of rosemary. Now, next I'm going to pick up the kids' toys. They're usually all around the yard. We have Isaiah's pretend little leaf blower, plastic wagons and trucks and things like that. So we do have an outdoor toy bin that is pretty secure. It's good to keep shut in the day so that no critters get in there. And then next, you've seen it before, this is my herb garden. I share this part of the property a lot on my channel because the herb garden's kind of my baby. I love to grow herbs, like I've said so many times before in videos. And there's a bunch that I like to grow. So right now my mint is actually going to flower. I have spearmint, I have orange mint, chocolate mint, and regular mint. I have citronella, which I'm hoping to use the citronella to make some DIY bug spray for when we go camping in a few weeks. This is my English lavender, which has an amazing smell. I love that one. I have two different types of thyme. I have traditional thyme and then I have lemon thyme, which I love both for so many different recipes, soups, Italian recipes. There's just so many uses for it. It didn't get as big this year as it has in the previous years, but I've also been picking it a lot and using it a lot for seasonings. These are the other mints. Like I said, my mints are going to flower, as you can see here, so I can collect the seeds, which I will show a little bit of that later in this video. But this is my other mint plant. I also have oregano, another great one to use for different recipes and seasonings. I experimented with growing clary sage and a few medicinal herbs this year. Clary sage, I kind of wanted to test it out. This will be one I'd like to make an essential oil or tincture out of. I learned about this process when I took my Herbal Academy course, and I still have my textbooks, so I do want to experiment with that in the future. This is my aloe vera plant, which I talked about in my previous video, which has gone crazy, and then of course my calendula, which did really well this year and has so many great uses. Next up in the herb garden, we have lemon verbena. This is this plant right here. It's doing really well, works great for tea. And then also I'm moving over to sage. Sage is really great for different recipes and also can be used for different spa DIYs as well. I've shared all of these different herbs in different videos, and maybe one day I'll do like a collaborative video with a lot of different recipes. This is lemon balm right here, and then the chamomile is pretty much dying. I've done the harvesting for that, and I'm gonna have to wait till next year. This is ginger that the kitten is kind of sniffing over there. Okay, so that's the herb garden. Moving on to the succulents garden. We started with just a few succulents plants in this fountain that was left here from the previous owners, and then it just went crazy, so we were able to transplant that succulents to hanging pots and the area right in front of my music studio. So we have succulents throughout the yard as well. Jasmine is my all-time favorite scent in the summer, so we planted some jasmine in these wood boxes. I've shared before that we got them when we lived in our old home and we started our very first garden. We got them at a citrus tree nursery, and at the time I think they were about $18, and they were really great for what we needed because we had a little area to garden. They prevented critters from getting in there and kind of munching on what we were growing. Since they held up so well, we decided to use them and keep them for our herb garden. So we planted the jasmine in those and wrapped the jasmine around the trellis. My husband did that. It was absolutely beautiful. These white roses are holding up really nice right behind my music studio. And then moving past the herb garden and around the kids' treehouse, we have lots of beautiful vines and flowers growing on the fencing, which every year we're kind of adding to that. We have a variety of different trees, from cherry trees to fig trees to nectarine trees, and really they're doing well, but they're not going to bear fruit for probably a few more years. So my husband has planted so many trees, it's actually hard to keep track. They're dwarf trees, so they're not going to get ridiculously big, but in between each tree, he's got a variety of citrus trees, grapefruit, we have orange, we have blood orange, we have lemon, we have lime, and in between each tree, we also have some roses. We have had some grapefruit, blood oranges, lemons, and limes fruit, but this is a nectarine tree, and we probably won't see fruit from that and the others for another year or two. We try different things out to see how well they perform. Right now, we're kind of in a transition, so we've harvested quite a bit. We have some tomatoes, a little bit of fennel left over. We have some artichokes left over. We recently harvested a lot of artichokes and used them. We have chives and onions. These are onion flowers, which again, they've gone to flower, so it's time to collect the seeds for next year. We also harvested garlic. There are a variety of dwarf trees also in this area, such as olive trees. We have a few different varieties of fig trees, pomegranate, a few more citrus trees, and then we also have a good amount of berry bushes. We have raspberry, golden raspberries, grapes, traditional raspberries, blackberries, which actually we just finished our harvest of blackberries and raspberries, so I don't think we have any more coming. Last year, these were in the herb garden, but they're so beautifully creeping against the fence along the test kitchen garden. We have just a few more strawberries left to harvest. This year he planted this sunflower that went absolutely crazy. It's like the sun of the garden. It just blew up and got so tall and so beautiful. And then the big garden is where we plant things that have been successful in the test kitchen garden. So we have lots of artichokes, which we are big fans of, and my husband has been sharing some of those recipes. We have a variety of different beans. I believe we had some snap peas. We just harvested several pounds of potatoes. We have a lot of those and can even share with our neighbors. And then we have some coming in the next few weeks as well. We have tons of squash, which has an amazing shelf life, and we have a bunch of different varieties. This should be in the herb garden, but the basil somehow ended up in the big garden. We have the watermelon, which is coming soon. It's not quite ready yet, probably more like end of August, beginning of September. A lot of different varieties of squash. They will probably last well into the fall. So we love to grow those, and there's a lot of different ways to actually cook and use them. I've shared before in a vegetarian recipe video I did how I like to cook squash with a little bit of honey, and I like to roast it. We have some corn. And then what else do we have in here? We recently harvested a bunch of garlic and some onions as well. I planted some sprouted pinto beans, so we'll see how those do. We also have some string beans, and gosh, there's a lot of different things growing in here, but anything that did well in our test kitchen garden, we decided to try here in this garden as well. Like I've mentioned before in previous videos, my husband studies hugel culture. Forgive my pronunciation. And that's his method for gardening. So we do a lot of living mulch and mulching. So I'm gonna plant some more cantaloupe and watermelon in the coming weeks. And then I was doing some inventory on the seeds that I currently have and some new seeds that I want to get. I like to get seeds at Tractor Supply. You can get organic seeds at Lowe's. You can find them online as well. Ideally, any of your plants that have gone to flower, you can harvest the seeds and save them for next year. But I also have seeds that I'm not currently growing, and I have an envelope full of seeds I want to plant in August. I will share a video of this because this is planning ahead for what we'll harvest in fall. Definitely carrots, broccoli, celery, cauliflower. I have some sweet corn, a few different varieties of pumpkin, jack-o'-lanterns. I have some hardy vegetables and greens. I like to pin on my farm life pin board on my Pinterest page a lot of different ideas for gardening. So if you're looking for ideas, especially in the coming months, everything that you can plant in August to make sure you are prepared for the fall and to have a really great fall harvest, check out some of the pins that I've done as of recently. You can also find out what zone you're in, what would be successful in terms of gardening for you according to which area you live. So go ahead and check out my Pinterest page under the Farm Life board for some of my pins of what I will be planting come August. I believe now more than ever it's really important to grow our own food, and especially this coming fall and winter, just keeping our bodies strong and feeding our family healthy food. We harvested a good amount of celery this season. I was very happy with it, and I shared it in previous videos. We let it go to flower, and then now it's gone to seed. So what I'm doing here is I'm collecting just the tops here of the flowers that are drying, and these are seeds. So as you kind of twist them between your fingers, your two fingers, the seeds will pop out of the little pods there. And so I'm going to do several tin containers full of these so that I have lots of celery seeds so I can plant more celery.
So you can see some of them, like the seeds are there, you know, the black part. Dead ones drop and then they seed on the ground.
Here we have some cilantro that is dried and gone to seed. I'm also going to save this in a few little tin containers that we have here. And we like to do this with pretty much everything that we're growing once it flowers and then goes to seed. So even like my mint in the garden, right now it's flowering, it'll eventually go to seed in the coming weeks, and then I can take that and use that for the coming seasons or next year.
But all those are going to be really good because you want big cloves. If they feel hard, they're good. But if they're rotten and not smushy, you don't want them. Yeah. Because this one's split. It got so big, it's split.
You just plant these directly in the ground.
Yeah, and look how many seeds you get from just one bulb.
Oh, I guess we did do the
We
garden
did some
seed.
of them. And there's still a lot. Go ahead. Get that one. And like, open it up. You like almost squeeze the little edamame out. See the little white beans? Well, they're green right now, but they turn white.
So we'll take those garlic cloves and use them, plant them directly back in the ground for more garlic in the coming months, and we'll use the seeds in the coming seasons. I hope you enjoyed this tour of our gardens, and we will keep you posted in the coming months with what we plant and what we harvest. If you like my channel, please be sure to subscribe and come say hi on Instagram for daily stories and updates and videos of my family and my life. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.